You can't have enough wedges.
You can never have enough cheese. That's right. That's right. And now, Steve, if you can share with me and share with everybody out there, kind of how you became the owner. You shared it with me a couple weeks back, but if you can share with everybody how you became Steve Tate, the owner, that everybody recognizes and loves now.
So it has a couple different stages as it over time. First of all, I started collecting Packer stuff, mostly when grew up around the Madison area, moved around a lot, but always a big Packer fan. I don't know what time I wasn't a Packer fan. When I moved to Nebraska and was working on computers, I started collecting a lot of Packer memorabilia, and I really wanted to share a stock. And that would have been just to get a certificate, not even my name. So when the sale came up in 97, that one wasn't as popular as the one in 2011. 2011, they made $67 million off of that stock sale. But the one in 97 was a little smaller, and I jumped on. I even had some Packer fans give me a hard time. Hey, it's my money. I mean, I'm donating to my team. I got my name on a certificate, and I've always wanted it to have in my collection. So I got my share of stock in November of 1997. Well, that Christmas, my mother went out and bought 4 playoff tickets, and never has told me, ever did tell me what the price was, even before she passed. So I never knew what she paid for them, and it happened to be in the north end zone in first and second row. Well, she bought them that because I was never been to a playoff game. I was turning 40 the day before that game. So she bought these playoff tickets for my brother, sister, wife, and I to go. My sister was making up a banner because in those days you could drape over a lot more and leave them hang. So she had a sign she was making up, and as I was driving over there, I just said, "Ha! I'm like I'm an NFL owner. I'm like Jerry Jones." And it was more of a spoof. I was just laughing, and I didn't give it much more thought. I just said NFL owner. I didn't think of owner or GBP owner. So we get there. She's making up the banner, and she just hand painted NFL owner in green on the gold wedge. And I went to the game, and I was just excited. I'm at a playoff game. We just won a Super Bowl. I'm just jacked up. I'm with my sister and brother, my wife, and then we're going in. People are stopping, taking photos with you, and it's making their day, and a lot of smiles. And I get in there. I wasn't even thinking. I'm front row in a playoff game, and there was all sorts of media and people talking with you. So that it just started just out of passion. I was excited to be going to my playoff game. Even the next day, I made it on the newspaper, or a local Madison paper, and one of my friends said, "Did you see that?" He had another words, but I'll just say that goofball on the front page. I go, "You mean with the owner wedge?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "That was me." He goes, "No." So he was even jabbing me. He didn't even know he was. So, but it was a lot of fun. And through the years, so like you said, through the years, you start meeting people. That's what's really cool is you start seeing people's children. You meet them, and you see them grow through the years. So sometimes they're the ones that change the most from year to year too. So it was just a fun thing to do and out of passion.
Awesome. And if you can, I want to hit on some of the organizations that you're part of before we get to the questions of the group, if that's okay.
Sure.
Help me understand and help other people understand in the group as well. And like I said, if you hear my son Brett in the background, I apologize. He's playing this video game and he gets a little excited sometimes.
Sure.
All right. Tell us about the Pro Football's Ultimate Fan Association, if you can.
So Pro Football's Ultimate Fan Association started in 1999 when Visa did a Visa Hall of Fans, and that was run for 4 years. And there you just had to write a bio, and they had a committee with Visa that would select a fan, usually at least one from every team. So from 1999 to 2004, Visa and their committee controlled that. What happened was, though, finally Visa said either all NFL teams are on board or we're stopping our sponsorship with this. And guess what team had their own card? Jerry Jones. Oh, and he didn't come over, so they just, after 2004, they stopped it. Well, now this organization started meeting from fans from all over the country that, it's always what's an ultimate fan? So that's a big debate too. And the organization had no new members, and they came up with this draft process. So we meet in Canton every year over the Hall of Fame. We do stuff with first play, and that's where they start. Where they line up kids through Canton, where they think the very first professional football game was, and the kids pass a ball all the ways up to the Hall of Fame. And usually James Lofton is there, and then some other Hall of Famers. And James is really a friendly, good guy too. If you ever get a chance to talk with him, he's great, very personable. Him and his wife, and they have the kids who wear T-shirts they give out, and they have a little meal there then, and they ask us all to sign their shirts. So that's kind of a thing, and we hand out cards, and that's why most of us have cards, because we give it there. Our motto is mission statement is sportsmanship, fellowship, and charitable activities. So we sponsor the J. Babe Stern Center in Canton, Ohio for underserved kids. And our organization donates 35 backpacks, and we pay for them and fill them up. And then we go on Saturday after the parade at the Hall of Fame, and we go to the J. Babe Stern Center and meet these kids and hand out swag items. We even got the Packers even give us some. At least for that, that's the one thing the Packers do help. They'll donate. They donate for these kids, and that's cool. You get that out, and we donate usually about $15,000 to $20,000 to the J. Babe Stern from these fans from all over the country. And then you get to meet these people that are from all over the country. Some you've seen on TV, some you haven't, but most of them are doing big, good things in their community, giving back. So it's about, you get a little fame. How are you using it? Some people might promote whatever, and then some of us try to, use it to leverage a few other things and give back, because we're fortunate enough to be able to do some different things and help some of these organizations. So it's really a fun group of men and women. And this is the thing that gives me the most hope of society, especially with the political spectrum. The further right or the further left you get, you seem like you can't agree ever. So if crazy fanatical fans can get together with different colors, different creeds, races, beliefs, and we can come together. And really our goal is opposite. I want to beat your team and you want to beat mine. And we see the humanity of each other, and we are friends, and we use the term brothers and sisters a lot. And if we can get to that point there when we have a passion that really is opposite of each other, but we can work together to make a difference in our communities. I go to a number of different charity events too, just because my friends run it and you go to it. So that's where some of these other charity events I get involved with also. So that's a lot of fun. And that process there now is you have to have somebody give you a draft card. The most we'll bring in is maybe one person for each team. And you have to write up a bio, which a lot of us aren't. It isn't about bragging, but you got to let other fans know who you are and what you do during the season, during the off season, with your fandom, and then also with your charitable activities and during the season, off season, all that, and then it goes through a whole review process. I have a membership committee, and they look over the bios, and then they interview. Then we got like 20 questions where we interview people. We do background checks because nowadays because we're involved with kids, we want to make sure that it's a totally safe environment. We're a G-rated organization because we definitely want to help kids enjoy the NFL, enjoy their life, and have a good opportunity like with the J. Babe Stern Center and those kind of things. So it's really a fun organization. So, and every now and then somebody, even just because they fill out a bio and they go to the committee, if they're all about themselves, they're not going to make it in the Pro Football's Ultimate Fan Association. I'm not saying they're not a big fan. It's just we want people of wanting to give back to.
That's awesome. Well, and that kind of goes along with the group. People call it my group. It's not my group. It's their group. It really is. Because it's all the members in the group that make it great, not me. Right. And we have rules. We don't like swearing. We don't allow F-bombs or none of that kind of stuff. And we got great moderators that maintain the group, because same thing. We have young kids in our group, and the parents reach out and they thank us and say, hey, make it about the kids as well. But in that same process, we're trying to bring awareness to current players, obviously, because people love Aaron Rodgers and the Clay Matthews and everything. But then as well, we're trying to help people remember what got us where we are today. Chris Jackie, Super Bowl 31, but way before that, Vince Lombardi, Jerry Kramer, Marv Fleming, the list goes on and on, Bart Starr, all of them. Right. So we're trying to bring awareness and education to our community that we have within it, but keep it family oriented, just like Vince said, God, family, Packers, so.
That's what's on the top of my cheese wedge.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vince is saying, yep. And that's what's funny there too. A a lot of times people nowadays really shun away, especially if you say God. But when I've shown that cheese wedge, I've had people, the time I was on 60 Minutes, the only thing they did a double take on was the top of my wedge, and that's what they started with.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so how do you give back, and how do you make and bring people along, right? And yeah, we have a right to free speech, but with rights comes responsibilities.
Sure.
And can you use it a little bit friendlier and kinder for all instead of just my rights? I think that's sometimes what people lose in social media. Yeah, you can say anything you want. Well, there's also libel and slander, but you can. But with good rights comes good responsibility, and just knowing how fortunate it is to be able to reach more people than be exclusionary.
Absolutely.
Even with this being a fanatical fan, you being a fanatic, sure, we're about the Packers, obviously, but we're inclusive too. I've gotten to meet, so even online, one of the places, I've never seen a fist fight at Lambeau Field, but the closest I've seen it is between Packer fans and some Viking fans. I've seen it really get heated. And so that was probably the last stadium I was going to go to. And then I went up there to try to, see about getting some members. We had nobody active in Pro Football Hall and Fan Association. And I went up there and I met a great group. And I tell you, I think next to Packer fans, the next biggest following of fans I have on my Facebook are Viking fans and the Viking World Order. And I hang out with, I've been in these guys' homes and Gail's homes. And it's just like, wow. I mean, I had said, this is a place I don't want to go. And now it's one of my more, I don't like U.S. Bank, but we've never won there. But I like being with the fans up there and friendly and kind and seeing a whole other aspect of it.
Right.
And so, you know what? Human beings, we have more alike than we have differences.
I've always loved that about you, is the fact that when you're at these events in Denver, you were with the Bronconator. Is that his name?
Yeah, I stayed with him. Right.
Yeah. I sat next to him on a plane. I told you this before, and he was a super great guy. We talked a little trash, but at the end of the day, it was that fellowship of football, and we could be respectful. We could be respectful of one another. It don't have to be nasty.
Right. And then I tailgated with that whole group too. I walked around some, but there was a whole group of them there too that I tailgated with. It was a lot of fun.
We could feel sorry for them, though, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
But the one thing that was out there, a couple of booing. I said, "Why are you booing me? We helped you get your first Super Bowl." So that was a little bit hard.
There you go. Now help me with. Let's talk about the River Food Pantry.
Right. So.
Foodpantry.org.
Right. So that's it started probably about only 10 years ago, and they serve so many people now. It started out just I knew the people that started it just doing taking meals on Fridays and Saturdays night at these different communities, housing complex apartments on the east side, northeast side of Madison. And then from there, they grew to a pantry, and they let people shop. It isn't just they give them choices. They're trying to build community also, because obviously sometimes when you need help, it's there's a lot of things going on in your life that can be, instead of being, that can make somebody feel really down in life. So how do you help people have dignity, community, help them make sure they have 40%, 41%, I think, of the people that are served the River Food Pantry are children. How can you really grow and, we know studies that if kids are hungry in school, they're not learning as well. So it's just really, and then they have clothing and they help give some rides. So being raised pretty poor ourselves, not having much, having time, we're on food stamps, it's just close to my heart, right? So, and some people are just a bad circumstance have it. Some people have mental health issues. So there's a wide variety of stuff. A lot of those people, I think it's almost like 51% are only need the river for a year. So there's a lot of them just get down on their luck. I had a guy get up one time and talk. He says, "I thought I was doing well, and I lost my job." And he says, "You go 2 months without a paycheck, you're in trouble." So there are still a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. So to go there, to be a part of it, and you just see the hearts of these people, that people that even have had stuff all their life still have a heart for people. That's what kind of surprises me the most, when people have had really good lives and they still want to give back. I know what it's like to need help. So that comes a little bit more organic for me, but there's a lot of good people there, really putting it on their line. There's a better paying jobs in some of these places too. Social services is a whole, I know people with master's degrees that don't get paid very much, but they're in the communities making a difference. So helping people have food and clothing, and being a small part of that. I mean, there are volunteers that are there every day. And so I've been involved. I've been a volunteer at times, on the advisory committee. And that's kind of part of where this shirt comes in. So Joey T got hold of me and said he wanted to make a shirt. We talked about it a while, and then he said, "Hey, I'll give you a couple bucks." And we talked. I said, "Joey, I don't want a couple bucks. I just want, He says, "Well, no, I'm not taking it." So Joey makes these up, and diehard Pack fans, and every shirt he sells, $2 goes to the River Food Pantry, and I love that. So
Awesome.
so giving back in different ways, and being a part, and learning about your group. And I mean, I haven't seen a group that donates inside your own group like you do, and the desire to give back. And I'm in a lot of different groups, so I really like being a part of people that want to have fun together, but then also want to help improve other people's lives also and give a little back.
Well, I'm a huge Zig Ziglar fan, and Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker. One of the things I learned very early on is you could have everything in life you want, as long as you're willing to help other people get what they want.
Right.
And
right.
It's perfect. It's perfect. All right. Now we get to the very famous himself, Mr. Wayne Sargent. And
Right.
I'm bugging Wayne about getting a date to go live with Wayne. I'd like to go live with Wayne, but then I'd like to get both of you guys together and the three of us kind of talk, if you guys are open to it sometime. But Wayne said he would go live with me one of these times. I just got to, dial him down to a date. But tell us a little bit about Wayne and the Ultimate Packer Fan Connection, ultimatepackerfan.com.
So first of all, you want to probably do tape delay with him. I'm just saying.
Okay.
No. Wayne's a great guy. We do a lot together. I was just at his house last Friday. Had dinner at his house, and we're about an hour and a half apart from each other. But we met. Oh, here's how we met. We met after Super Bowl 45 when they had that kickoff game on the Thursday night, and they wanted some fans to come up there and be part of the promo and be in the crowd for the NBC commercial. So Wayne and I met other people, but we just hit it off. And so we've been involved in same thing. How do we do charity stuff together? And we started doing some of that. And, you meet different people at a lot of different Packer fan events. So training camp, mini camps, fan fest when we used to have it. So all those things are fun. Draft. We don't even have a draft party anymore. Anyhow, so got to know Wayne real well. Wayne is definitely the more big idea guy. Wayne's the one he'll go up and ask anybody. He'll go get sponsors. He does a lot of that stuff. Also does stuff. He lives over by Kewaskum. I've gone over and done a number of charity events with him there. So he's really an active guy, huge Packer fan. He has a lot of passion, a lot of ideas, and it's fun. So I'm not the big promoter type that way, but then I'm kind of more roll up your sleeves and let's just do stuff together. So we complement, and this is what I think sometimes too. I don't know why people want to all be identical. It's just like a football team, You can't have all quarterbacks. You can't have all linemen. Good teams have diversity in it and different talents and skill sets, right? So I think it's really gotten to be a brotherhood. Wayne, I've stayed over at his house sometimes, even dubbed one room my bedroom now. So we've done a lot of stuff together, and it's a lot of fun. So it's cool being able to do stuff together, obviously, and go to games and then do some of these charity events together and have somebody that can go shoulder to shoulder with you when it comes to the actual work, because the Ultimate Packer Fan Connection, we've tried to, first of all, Green Bay is a small town, right? 100,000. And there's so many different events that the people in Green Bay live with the players. You can say, for a lot of these games, home games, Jerry Kramer, who's great, and Dave Robinson, they show up. People see them enough. It's the people that come in from out of town, and we have so many that gives those people opportunities. So we wanted something that fans could come together, the Ultimate Packer Fan Connection. We wanted it to be for a charity event, and we just, anything we get or donated, we don't make anything off it. We're not getting paid. And then you have some expenses too, because you have to buy some stuff, because not you get everything donated. We were hoping we'd get big enough to get a stronger sponsor, but that just hasn't happened yet. I think this is our 8th one coming up. Got some dedicated people. Jen Schultz from Titletown Ticket to Tour really helps out. She's really great in coordinating stuff. Scott Schwartz has really helped out a lot from Lot 1. Wayne and I. We've had a few other people come and help out. A lot of people help out the day of setup. And now we've partnered with the new community shelter in Green Bay, which really is, again, cool, really helps out. And then they bring a lot of people to help out. So they got a great staff there. Chris really does a great job and her staff. So it's fun working with them. And people are very appreciative. So we get items to raffle off or silent auctions, raffles, sometimes big prizes. We have the people from the shelter help do the grilling and brats and burgers and all that stuff. A lot of stuff we get food donated and then charge a little bit and make a little money there for the new community shelter. And then we used to have it in early June, but that gets so cold sometimes. So now we moved it, and this is why we don't have a date yet. We moved it to say, hey, let's just do it with a shareholder. Even though it's not a weekend, you have a big influx of people, 10,000. A lot of us are from outside of Green Bay. And so you say, hey, we have a different, something to offer them because the shareholders meeting really is only an hour and a half. And when you're there, if you want to go through the pro shop, it's packed. If you want to go through the Hall of Fame, it's packed because you got that 10,000 right there inside Lambeau Field for that little bit of time. So we're trying to partner with that, leverage that, see if we can't get some more people coming through, meet some more people, and help raise more money for the new community shelter.
When that time comes, will you please reach out to our group to help out any way that we can?
You bet. Well, at least help, get the word out because you just never know. Some people, that's the one thing I missed when we had it in early June, we had it a number of years, people started planning for it. We had people come in from out of town just for that, and you got those deeper relationships. That's the blast. So, you go to give back a little bit, and then you get these relationships going, right? And here's what I say all the time. Players are going to come and go. Coaches are going to come and go. Even though we had a long coaching staff here, who's going to be here year in, year out, decade in, decade out? Us.
That's right.
So this is where the real relationship is, and this is where the real fun. It's nice to meet these guys. And then you get to meet people like you said. Chris is great. Marv I've met, Dave and those guys. They're great guys. And Chris lives right in Green Bay, right? So, and you know them real well, so you know all that stuff. But I've never stayed in their homes. I stay in Wayne's homes. I stay in other people's homes. People come through. They're welcome to stay in my home. So.
Excuse me, I had to cough there.
Yep.
Now, we that's one thing I think that if we all reach out, because we have a big group, we have multiple pages amongst all of us, Marv, Player Congress, Chris, Players Alumni, the more that we, kind of interact amongst each other, we can continue to grow for everybody and mostly for the Packer fans out there. They deserve it.
Right. And that's what that's another thing I love. A lot of times people get stuff. I've seen it with churches. I've seen it with recovery circles that I'm involved with. They get their thing and they want to control it. And I've said over and over, if we don't get along together, how do we expect open society to? So yeah, why wouldn't we leverage us? Let's do us together. Let's have fun together. Let's help one another. And most times, if I'm helping you, I'm going to get help myself. We're going to all benefit from that. That's the win-win.
Absolutely. All right. Now, Steve, these Packer fans, they're nuts. So, you know that.
Dedicated.
Okay. Let me dig into their questions.
Okay.
Because I know that they've been waiting for them, all day long. There's one guy out there. He's stranger than most by the name of Chris Jackie. We'll just start with him. That wants to know, who is your favorite kicker?
Favorite kicker?
Favorite kicker.
Well, I mean, the first of all, you got to be a pure athlete, right? And a true football player. And, bright, good looking. I don't know any of those guys. No. Chris Jackie. Yes, Chris. He's a good guy. I've gotten to know him quite well. Yes, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He lives in our community. He's active, so yes. And I've met some other ones I like. I like Chester, Jerry. He kicked. So, but Chris, yes.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Great friend. Great friend. Talk to him quite often, and honestly, he's down to earth. Down to earth, man. He'll just get on there and he'll tell you stories, and he'll do whatever he can to help you out. So that's awesome.
Right. And he likes to golf and he likes to fish too.
I heard he's not that great of a golfer though. And if I say that and he catches wind, I'm in big trouble. So.
Can he beat you?
Probably.
Well, then he's not bad then.
All right, now this might be a surprising one. I know the answer, but Neil Saunders, who's one of the moderators in our group, asked, how long have you been a season ticket holder?
Never.
I knew that.
I'm not a season ticket holder, but so I have never owned tickets in my own name, but I did in 2003. I'd always have to go up there and either buy them through somebody before I knew, or scalpers. So, in Ashwaubenon, that circles 3/4 of green Lambeau Field, they can scalp them. So I've definitely for years had to scalp tickets and pay a lot. And then in 2003, a friend that's got season tickets and has a few of them in his family, in his wife's side, came to me and says, do you want season tickets? And I go, that's not the question. Do I want them? How can I get them is the question. And so we just made an agreement there. I paid the per seat license, and it's an interest-free loan. So since 2003, I've been sitting on the green package in row 45 in section 121, seat 13. Hey, Chris, seat 13. For the 6 home games and 1 preseason game since 2003. So then I just pay face value from then on. So it's in their name, but I get the tickets, and a couple years later, I landed that with a gold package. So I get to all the home games and usually 5 or 6 road games a year.
Okay. Well, remember that guy's name, Neil Saunders, because I believe he's real close to the same section as you.
Really?
Yes.
So, yeah. So if here's the thing. I've never I usually, a lot of times I have a fan from one of these other teams by me or other fans, and I have never made any money on a Packer tickets, so I never charge more than face. In fact, because of preseason, I lose money on it. So I just don't feel right charging more than face, even though I know you can get it, and especially that visitor side. Jim, this is what just blows me away. Where I sit, since 2003, week in and week out, there's usually only about 5 or 6 of us that are there every week. Some of it is corporation seats, some of it is family seats, but a lot of times people are selling all over because that's visitor side. And I know they're getting – I even knew the guy that's right next to me, and I just asked him one time, hey, can I buy some tickets from you? And he came back with, 2.5 times face value. And that ended that conversation.
Yeah. Wow.
So if Neil ever has a hard time, but you even saw last year, right? So Packer fans, we've had a really great run. Next to New England, we've had the best run in the last 25 years, right? And this last year, you could get tickets that last couple games under face, which you've never seen.
Now, another great guy by the name of James Randolph, close friend, wants to know it's kind of 2 questions. How many home games have you been to, and how many Packer games have you been to at different stadiums? Just roughly.
Roughly. So I know I'm getting close to 200 games total, and the vast majority have been at Lambeau Field. I would say I think I'm right at around 29 stadiums I've been to. So some of them have been doubled up. I've been to Kansas City a few times, I think 5. I've been to Soldier Field. It's got to be getting close to 10 right now because I go down there and sit with the big Paul Zawicki. He's a member of Pro Football's Hall of Fame Association with me. He even offers, hey, why don't you come down and sit by me, and I'll come sit with you at Lambeau. So that's what we've been doing for the last number of years. And then that's also where Bearman is, and he got just inducted with he was one of the 3 fans that got just inducted with Ford's Hall of Fame. So that's a new program coming on where actually Dave Baker comes and knocks on their door just like they do with the Hall of Famers. So that was pretty wild, very cool. Been to Minnesota probably 5 times now. So I'd never counted. I've never split up the count. Obviously, I'd say it's got to be, 3/4 to 7/8 are Lambeau versus of that 200. It's quite a bit more.
So you're not afraid to get around?
I get around a bit. You're only young for so long.
Absolutely. You had mentioned going down to Super Bowl 45.
Right.
Did you actually get to attend the game? Because that's another question. Have you ever been to a Super Bowl? Was that one of them?
Yes. So that's my first one I went to. Really
Okay.
kicked myself for at least not going down. I'd tell any fan, probably the two best spots to go if the Packers in the Super Bowl is obviously that Super Bowl city because we show up in droves and there's so much going on, or Green Bay. But I was lucky enough, so I'm sad that I never went down to New Orleans because that would have been wild for Super Bowl 31. But 45, I was there, got down there, went through the snow and all that, got down there late Wednesday night, and there was just so much to do, and we were so much all over the place. But that was not the best place to have a Super Bowl because they spread it over 3 cities and we had all the ice and stuff. But to be in a Super Bowl with your team playing and then to see them win it, it was just it was unreal. And what's even more amazing about that is there was just a ton of emotions. But when I got out of the stadium and called my wife, that's when the tears really came. I mean, it's just funny I'm a full-grown man, but the movement of that and what that still means to me and what that does, I don't know. It's lifelong. Even when Super Bowl 31, I'm young. I'm old enough to remember the glory years and bits and pieces of that. But I never thought we'd win enough. It's little Green Bay, right? Through the 70s and 80s. Oh, so to be at that, I'd say, but even if you can't get the game, because the prices are getting crazy, there is so much to do between the NFL experiences, the different hotels where the players and stuff in the media center, and there's a lot to do, the different media row and all that. There's a lot to do, and you'll meet a lot of other fans.
So even if you can't get tickets to the game, go down there, enjoy the experience.
Right. And the best one, they got lucky with the weather, but Indy. So then I went to the next 3 Super Bowl cities, didn't go to the game. But Indy, you could park in everything, the NFL experience, the media center, the 2 hotels where the teams were at, all the activities, and the stadium were all within walking distance. And they got great weather that week. It was 50 degrees. But in Indy, because of the 500, they know how to move traffic. So that was really a fun one to be at.
Indy's a fun city.
I got one other thing about Super Bowl 45.
Okay.
Here I am trying to figure out how to get tickets, and during that week, I'm speaking with, for the first time, Herb Adley to get talking with Herb Adley. Yeah, it was pretty wild. It's very good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Jane DeLizio, I hope I say her name right. I get in trouble all the time, Steve.
I'm with you. I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
Yeah, pronouncing them.
She wants to know, and you kind of answered already, how many away games do you attend? But is there a certain stadium besides Lambeau that you like to tailgate the most at?
So, like I said, I've been to a number of 29 stadiums. Probably the most unique because of the view and how is Arrowhead, because one side of the parking lot you have Royal Stadium, on the other side you have Arrowhead, and it's all pavement, and their grills and their barbecues and the smoke and the tailgating and all that, you can see a lot of it, and it really gives you a better perspective of it. So the place where you can see the real tailgate is great. Then I got tailgates because of my friends, right? Some of these cities, like the bigger cities, they can only find these little lots, and it gets really fragmented. And I've even said this: usually being in the stadium, I have no problem because I'm usually going with friends from the other team there and being at their tailgate. But that walking in between, that can be pretty rough. But and you got to kind of keep your head always looking. But most of them are pretty friendly, so it just depends on the venue and looking at it. Probably, I still think Lambeau is the best for a tailgate and friendliness and even stadium. But Seattle just is the loudest. They stand and yell their guts out, man.
Wow. All right, Gabe Windsor wants to know, who has been your favorite player to watch over the years, both on the Packers and from another team that they played? Me, I'm a Brett Favre fan. Everybody knows that.
Right. I'm a huge Bart Starr fan. But also growing up, my dad was a huge Jim Taylor.
Wow.
So I remember those guys a lot. I really like watching John Brockington. He was the first guy to ever get 1,000 yards the first 3 years. Really like Donald Driver. Aaron, Brett was so fun to watch, right? He played with an enthusiasm and a joy. And I still think the best passer of them all is Aaron. But if I had my favorite all time is definitely Bart. But and then once you get to know some of these guys off the field, it means it even more, right? I've met some guys that I really thought I liked, and then once I met them off the field, they go, "Wish I didn't look behind that curtain."
Right.
But there's other ones when you get to know them, like Jerry and Dave. What ambassadors they are, man! They're still out there, and they're just great communicators, and they can talk stuff in society and different technologies and science to football.
Yeah. I was talking to Dave a while back, and he was I get to chat with him quite often too, and he was telling me, "Hey Jim, do you know the only good thing about a smartphone is?" I said, "What, Dave?" And he goes, "The person that sold you it." So his mindset is there ain't nothing good about it, just the people that make money off of it.
Yeah.
And you're right, Jerry. The stories that he comes up with, that he could sit down and relive in his mind, and he could share those stories like nothing else, is incredible. Same with Dave. They're great guys.
And they're friendly to anybody.
Yes.
They're just, five-time, Jerry 5-time world champion, Dave 3-time. And they're both really good in business. I mean, Dave was an engineer in college. So, and even some of the stories when you hear what he went through back when still breaking down walls of segregation in hotels and eating and all that, it's hard to believe that he even went through that because he's such an outstanding man.
Yeah. Now, have you got to meet Bart Starr?
Yes, I've met Bart a couple of times at different events. And then he actually got to know me a little bit. There was even one time finally, a couple years before he had a stroke, there was a chalk talk. And I got invited because I did a little bit of stuff with Rawhide. And I got there and I come walking up and Jerry goes, we were looking for you. We thought you'd see you here. So it's not like I was hanging out with them a lot, but you just cross paths at these different events and stuff. And then because I usually wear a 15 jersey, it just stood out. And then I've got to talk to Bart twice this year. When my sister had a stroke, which we didn't know Labor Day, we didn't know if she was going to make it or not. And a couple weeks in it, when we knew she was going to be alive, Leanne, Bart's assistant, called me and talked to me and told me some of the things they did. So they reached out to me to let me know what some things I could do for my sister. And then Bart talked to me for a little bit. That's so awesome. I'm sitting there going, I tell you some of those things, Jim, you just I'm just an average, I grew up with blue jeans t-shirts and didn't have a lot. And here I am talking with, the thing I love about Bart and his whole family still this way, Bart Jr. and Cherry and all that, and Leanna, how much they want to give back. I mean, they're in Alabama doing stuff and they're coming back here giving stuff. And they happen to see that my sister had a stroke and they call me to try to say, hey, here's things we did.
That's incredible.
You just, they're great human beings.
Wow. It honestly gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. That's incredible. Incredible.
So then even when I go to the hospital, my sister's still not with it fully yet. And I tell my brother-in-law and he starts crying. It meant that much to him.
Well, is she getting a little better at least?
Well, life is tough.
It is.
She's getting a little bit better. And to help her out, we're going to Cabo on Saturday.
Okay.
If you saw her walking around, you wouldn't even know she had a stroke. Her speech is a little bit slow at times, and her function in her right hand. But it's been, I don't understand why some of these happen, but it's still amazing what God can do and the blessings that come if you just don't get too bitter, you stay open, and you try to figure out, and you still, there's a lot of things that she's even doing now, and she's got 6 kids, and she's very active in their lives and their grandkids. So now she's got more time to be she's not working right now. So she's doing well. It's still hard, but the progress has been really amazing.
Could I ask what her first name is? Just so Sheila. Okay.
Yep.
I know our Packer fans, man, I'm telling you, they will keep her in their prayers. I know I will as well.
So some of that stuff, you don't know how much you should share or not sometimes. But I'll tell you, when it comes to that stuff, I'll share that a lot because I definitely know the power of prayer, and I don't know how people. I'll just a point blank. I've lived without faith, and I have lived apart from God, and I am not perfect at it. I talk about these things to hold myself more accountable. I want people to help me be more accountable, but I want the prayers too because prayer works, man. There is something that, there's a lot of things in life. So how do you really define? So even what we're talking here, there's some people look at us and think we're just weirdos because we're Packer fans, but there's something that's really tangible to us, even though we can't fully put that to it. And sometimes I think you got to get in some dire places to really know the power of God.
I have atheists in our group. They know what I stand behind. They're okay with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's not something that our group hides behind whatsoever. We put it out there. If people get offended by it, they get offended by it. Ain't much I could do. I created the group. If somebody's going to offend it and they want to leave the group for it, hey, we wish them the best of luck, but we're not going to hide with what we believe in.
Right. So why can't we talk about different faiths?
Exactly.
And why can't we talk about different views? Yeah. Doesn't mean I have to. That's what's so strange right now. If you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. I'll tell you, almost my wife and I, we're really two different people. We have a lot of core beliefs, but we're really two different people. And I say this all the time. We did foster care for a while. And if it would have been just me, we'd have got rid of them real quick. If it would have been her, she would have hung on them forever. We balanced each other out. Yeah. Sometimes when you're ready to swing or get too a view a certain way, right? So just like I was talking earlier, you need different viewpoints, and you need to try to at least talk with people. You don't have to always agree, but recognize the humanity of it.
You don't have to agree. It doesn't have to be confrontational, and it doesn't, right. In your opinion, it doesn't have to be offensive either.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I say what I believe in doesn't mean I'm trying to force you. Now, there are some people that do that, right? So you go to sporting events and you have the ones on the microphone telling us, I've had people walk up to me that are on the mic, supposedly have the same faith I do, and will tell me I'm going to hell. Right. I'm a sinner and I'm a hedonist, and I'm going, God bless you, I got to go.
Okay. Exactly. Now, Pam Leggett, she would love if you could share your story of recovery. Don't have to name any names, but if you could just kind of share that. She wants to congratulate you on your up and coming 33 years of being sober. And is that right? 33 years, Steve?
32 is going to be this May.
32, okay.
Yep. So
congratulations on that. And if you could share a little bit about that.
I'm going to tell you point blank, it wasn't a lone deal. I didn't do it alone. That's for sure. I've been able to do some things alone. Grew up, I'm the oldest, moved around a lot. I'm used to kind of doing things alone and getting some things done on my own and working, be it work, hunting, and school, right? So, but when it came to this, I was in a fight that I wasn't equipped to. I didn't even think I was in a fight. I thought I could control it. I thought everyone was kind of doing like me. And I'm not against partying, man. I'm not against people having a good time. I mean, if you can do it, but the problem is when you're drinking excess like I was, and it wasn't every day, there was periods every day, you just start thinking everyone does because, hey, when you're blacked out, you're not really recording what other people do. You just get up the next day and think everyone was that way, right? But you intuitively know you can't talk about it, right? When people start saying you had a good time and you got a chat, and then stuff started happening. What really was for me, my life started getting more narrow. It wasn't, it just got more isolated. And I'm really more of an introvert. Recovery and the Packers and doing all that stuff just caused me to look more extroverted, but I got to be really introverted. And then as things got darker and darker, and I was doing stuff to people I cared about, not showing up for events, being real moody, and I had a DWI in the military, and that really didn't count because it was on base, so that no one really knew about it. And then I'm working at an insurance company, and I get a second DWI. So I know my career's close to being over. I know my marriage is in trouble, and I've always loved my wife, but when I'm drinking, I'm not showing up, and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I got to DWI, I got forced into treatment. At the time, I thought it was an overreaction. I didn't want it. I'll just say this is what's hard about stuff. And you got to be, if somebody's having a heart attack, you wouldn't just walk by and say, oh, I'm not going to get involved. Yeah. But when you see somebody going down, I'm talking chronic issues. And we all think, a lot of people think alcoholism is the skid row people, right? That's only 10%. 10% ever get to that chronic 4 stage. There's a lot of people that are functioning and just still very talented and having issues. So I got into treatment. I didn't like it. I was not happy. But finally, near the end, I kind of identified with one guy. And that's where it's so important, meeting somebody and getting around and seeing some different things. And then I started going to different recovery groups. And I heard another guy that I could relate to. And they had some ways that they weren't just white knuckling it. And I've tried that for years. And I'll say to anybody, if you've tried multiple times to just quit and just do it on your own and you can't, then you're kind of more in my ballpark. I just couldn't stop starting. I could stop for times, but and I had to get some like-minded people, and I had to kind of scale back. And I've said to people, at first I didn't feel like a man. I felt like a loser. I was, feeling very depressed. I felt like people were kind of, even the stuff I was doing to do. Hey, Fran, that's Fran. We're alive.
Hi. I didn't know.
you gotta, she just quick came in. You got to bend down here. So she was just out taking some of our foster daughters, her daughters to church tonight. So she just came in, didn't know we were on the phone.
Okay.
On the TV. Good.
So good to see you.
Very nice to meet you.
I'll let you visit.
See you later. That was impromptu.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was a big reason why I got in recovery. If I could have treated her really the way I've always loved her, but I was not doing what I needed to do, and I knew it. So that was a key part. We're going to be married 38 years this June. So
that's awesome.
I'm not a 38-year kind of married guy. So anyhow, getting around people that had a way out other than just not drinking and playing cards or something. I had to get into something that were, involved and having fun. And so,
Yeah. Now, you'd have to agree, Wisconsin, it's rated, it's the drinking state of all the states out there. And if you could drink and do it responsibly and it not affect your life, you're totally for it. But if it affects people's life or it puts other people in danger and that kind of stuff, and you had mentioned earlier that you still go into bars sometimes for promoting things or being part of something, you have to be responsible at the end of the day, whatever it is. You got to understand your own self in regards to if you have a problem with something. But that's just not drinking. It's drugs. If it's anything out there, you have to have that mental toughness to recognize it and do something about it if you need to.
Right.
And if others do see that you are having issues and you can't recognize it, they need to come in and step in and help out a little bit.
Right.
Am I right in saying that?
I do. We're here to help one another.
Right.
If I saw my brother drowning, would I just walk away?
Exactly.
But now if I hop in and he's pulling me down all the time,
Yeah.
I don't want to drown with him either. So,
right.
So you got to learn. It's a funny balance, right, with all that. There's not a clear-cut way or a right way. I've seen people really party it, and then they can scale back, and they're fine. And then there's other ones like me that you try to scale back, and you try to scale back. And I definitely believe for me in the disease concept for myself, if I take one or something triggers, I'm going to sit there and drink a lot. And I have a capacity, and that really isn't normal. And if you can recognize you got that and you can regulate back, fine. I couldn't. So I needed to get in a little bit more counseling. I needed to get a little more people in recovery that I knew. And I had to start, I tie a lot of spiritual stuff into the physical world. When you first start working out, it really hurts because you're breaking down muscles that start building up. But once you get that routine going, then you're breaking down and building up, and it feels rewarding. And same thing as you make a major change in your life, it really is painful at first. It doesn't feel right. So you got to kind of seem like, tear down some of your mental and physical and some of your thoughts and then build up new ones. And for me, it was just like going to games. Could you imagine going to a whole stadium, sitting in Lambeau Field, watching the Packers by yourself?
Yeah.
Or a scrimmage, game in and game out without having competition? It wouldn't be the same. So it's good to have that competition. And if good, healthy competition is going to raise the game, and being there with others and enjoying the highs and lows, I'll tell you even this, I really like beating the Bears and Vikings. I just like it. But when I was sitting in Lambeau Field with my buddy that I've gotten to know real well, Paul, and we're up 42-0 on the Bears at halftime, I never leave a game early. I get in early. I stay in my seats. I don't go at halftime. I don't go to the bathroom. I'm there. In that game, I looked over 42-0, and I said, I almost feel like leaving, because at this point now, there was nothing to see in the second half. And so having my friends from the other team, it keeps me from getting too high or too low, because when we get beat, like in Soldier Field this year, anyhow, and I'm with my buddy, and I've seen him we've waxed them so many times over the last 2 decades. To finally see him actually happy, it made my pain a little less.
Yeah.
I still don't like losing, though.
I hear you. I'm one of those ones that yell at that TV.
I'm worse at home. I'm telling you, when I'm in a stadium with people, I'm better. When I'm at home, I can get a lot more ornery. It's just tougher.
Hey, Brett, come here real quick. I want you to say hi to Steve. Is it okay my son says
Absolutely.
Hi? This is Brett. He was born 3 pounds. Scoot down here.
Hey, Brett.
Say hi to Steve.
Hi, buddy.
He's going to be 11 next month. So
he was 3 pounds?
3 pounds, 3 ounces at birth. Brett's autistic, and he is striving. He's doing great.
Good.
And tell Steve who your favorite Packer is. Brett Favre. And
I kind of saw that one coming.
Tell him you got to meet Brett Favre.
I got to meet Brett Favre.
Cool. Where was that at?
Where did we see him? It was in Green Bay.
It was in Green Bay.
That's right. I took him to his first game, just me and him, and
Yeah.
we were lucky enough to go and meet Brett.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, bud, go play your game. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I don't want to keep you much more, but I ask you if you could share with the Packer world out there, if you had just some kind of message that you could share, and I know we've talked a lot in regards to messages, but if you could ring out and say something to this Packer group and the Packer world out there of this up-and-coming season and seasons in the past and just in life, what would you say?
I'd first say, be who we are. Be yourself. And I'm telling you, what makes Lambeau, and what makes the Packer family are a couple of things. We're friendly. We want to have a good time, and we want you to have a good time. We want to have the camaraderie and the joy, and that's with this group, with people at Lambeau. That's some of my biggest joys, is being able to see somebody, be it a Packer fan or somebody else, come to Lambeau Field for the first time, and they're just in awe. I had some Jets fans show up one time that I met through just social media, and they could not believe that they didn't hear any F-bombs. They couldn't believe nobody was in their face. Within an hour, that's all they could talk about. Within 2 hours, they're inviting me to their home. They felt like they owed me something, just because. So be who we are. Enjoy life and try to help others enjoy life.
Absolutely.
And now there's sometimes people they got their own freedoms, and sometimes $1 million gift I say we all were given by God was free will. And some of us know how to use it. Some of us are still learning and trying to use it better. And some just like to use it for their own bullying or, so sometimes you just got to move from some people too. I'm not here to control everybody, but be friendly, be who we are, and enjoy our history. I tell you, it is another cool thing. I've had fans come from other teams, a couple of them just really standing in Lambeau Field going, I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. And they're big fans from other teams. Enjoy our history. Enjoy the moment. Yeah, last year was tough, but we've had some really good years, and so, and sometimes I say it even in business, I don't know if I can really partner with you when things are going well. What do you like when things aren't going so well?
Right.
I was a little bit embarrassed of the Packer family this year. seeing Mike get up in the press conference and seeing some of the comments people are saying to them, he's a good man. And things, and sometimes, yeah, you got to move on or things change. But, man, try to treat each other with a little respect always, too. Just because you think it and just because your emotions are high, sometimes it's best, the higher the emotions, high or low, it's sometimes better to just bite your lip for a little bit. So enjoy it, but also try to recognize other people, try to understand people, understand our history, and then live in the moment. Because I would have never met you if it wasn't for the Green Bay Packers, right? I say this to a lot of people. I've met a lot of really good people because I wear insulation on my head. So you don't know where your passions are going to go. But here's another thing that just sometimes blows me. I had Packer fans come and go, I don't like the cheese wedge. Okay. No, I really don't like it. Well, and I got one on my head.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would say you shouldn't wear it.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't do that for you. Just because I do something doesn't mean you got to do it.
Exactly.
Or just because you have a fandom your way. But I think there's ways we can support our team together better. I tell you, I like us to be loud when we're on defense and quiet when we're on offense.
Sure.
How can we help us support our team? And if I learn how to just not celebrate me or my stuff, if I learn how to celebrate my team and help my team, and I learn about you and try to help you, whether we have the same faith, the same beliefs, it doesn't have to be all the same. Can we find some common ground first? I don't care who them are. There's good people in all these things. Just some of the stuff is just, so enjoy life. Give back. We have freedoms. You don't have to invoke them all the time. Try to understand somebody else a little bit. Be a little bit more inviting. Be friendly. Enjoy our history. And, we'll pull it. It's been a tough year, but changes need to be made. And that's what life is about. And how do you weather through change with some dignity and your head up with others?
I love it. I love it.
So let me tell you one other thing wild with this too. Is another thing just kind of blows my mind this year. I grew up as a kid doing atomic bomb raids, right? Where they made us had us in high school duck our heads because the communists were coming to kill us, right?
Yeah.
And this last year, I've gotten to know more people from Germany than I think any other year. But I've really met. And I had two guys come and stay with me that grew up behind the Berlin Wall. Now, I grew up in the Cold War, and that was the biggest thing. And and that wall came down, and I didn't do nothing, right? And I was told as a kid, come up, the communists are coming. Well, they're not communists, but they grew up that way, 8 and 9. They came and stayed in my house this year.
Wow.
And this is one of the coolest things. I'm really kind of inviting strangers. One guy I knew, Frank I knew, Kai didn't. And I'm telling you, just some of the memories you get, some of the things, is I was going to bed, and the second day that Kai was here, and Frank speaks a lot better English than Kai. Kai just looked at me almost with just a sincerity and just said, "Good night, Steve. Thank you." And it was so sincere. And this is a grown man from another country coming here because we have a passion with the Packers. And I got to meet and connect with a guy really quickly. There's a lot of things here. So if you see somebody a little bit more crazy or a little bit less than or whatever, then just roll with a little bit more. Give them a little grace. You'll be surprised what happens in your life.
That's incredible. Steve, do you know how awesome you are?
Dude, that's not true.
That is true. And I guarantee, I want you, when you, maybe not tonight, tomorrow or something, go through, because these guys are still asking questions. If you could go through and answer some questions on some of these threads that you see,
right,
I would appreciate it. But you will see the love that these people have for you because you motivate, you inspire, and you are awesome.
Well, so here's why I have a little hard time with it. I know my past. I know some of my demons. I know I've done things that I've heard some people say they have no regrets. I do. I would like some do-overs. And I've had a lot of good people.
I hear.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of good people help me. So sometimes people say I deserve it or I'm awesome. I'm telling you, I love grace.
Absolutely.
I want some grace in my life. I don't want what I deserve from my whole. So you're seeing me now and, but I can still be around the house and get ornery over to nothing. Over nothing.
Sure.
With the woman I love.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden my ego's so I'm a human being just like you, and I've had some experiences, and I've been given a lot of help, and I've been able to receive it. So we got to be also open to receiving help, and not always the way I want it. And if we do that and we become more transparent with one another, and we can understand one another, it's the connection. So to be awesome, it takes two, to listen and to hear. So it's not me being awesome. It's us communicating and working and being open with each other. That's awesome.
You inspire me, man. I'll tell you real quickly, today was one of those days for me. It was just a rough day for me. You know, from the start of it to 5 minutes before we went live. You know, just a rough day. Got all kinds of weird news, you know, and so it was rough. And I honestly now, after speaking with you, I could walk away and I could say, my day ended great now. You inspired me. So thank you.
You know why? Because you put yourself out a little bit. You made some commitments. You start trying to do stuff for others. You didn't know you were going to have a bad day, and you didn't know you had to end with a little bit. We get by giving, buddy.
Yeah.
And it isn't always one for one, and I can't always measure it out, but I know the reason that it is this way, and I'm going to say one thing. It just is. I'm just amazed, but how some days I get stuff just in time. I'll pick up something new or hear something new that day that I needed for that day. Am I open to the message of the day?
Yeah.
So, love you, brother.
Love you, man. Love you. We're going to bug you to come back and visit us more often. I want you to consider our group part of your home. I know you got many of these homes out there. You're welcome anytime you want to post anything out there. You're an incredible individual. Like I said, I want to get you and Wayne one of these times, and the three of us just chat, talk a little football. This up and coming season, let's dig a little bit deep and have a good time and see what we could all do collectively to help each other.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm for it.
Well, we say it whenever I end a live. I always say it pretty simple. We say it loud and we say it proud.
Go Pack, go!
That's it. I love it. I love it.
See, I do little videos too sometimes with the other fan, and I always end that way too.
Good. Give me one more, Steve.
Go Pack, go!
Thank you.
Have a
All
good
right, my friend. I will touch bases with you soon. And thank you again. Have a wonderful night.
I heard Brett too.
Yep, he's yelling in the background.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Go back up.